If you've been staring at a blank screen and feeling frustrated because the words are just not coming when you write, I want you to know you're not alone. This is very common. As a book coach, I see this all the time. There's nothing wrong with you. In this video, we're going to talk about what writer's block actually is, how to determine the reason for your writer's block, and some strategies to help you overcome writer's block, maybe right now. So if you're stuck right now and you found this video, maybe after this, you'll be unstuck and you can go write. Before I get started, hello, I'm Stacey Ennis. I am a book strategist and coach. I have personally contributed to more than 100 books throughout my 16 years in publishing, and I've also impacted hundreds more books throughout this time. And I really have seen every stage of writer's block, and I know how to help you get unblocked so that you can get that writing done, maybe even that book that you're working on. First, I want to talk about what writer's block is. Most of us, while we're writing, are looking to get into a flow state. And we talk about flow a lot, but I recently looked up the dictionary definition of what flow is, and I loved what I read. It said, flow is low levels of self-referential thinking. So self-referential thinking means you're referring to yourself in your own thoughts. So you are often in a negative loop of things that you're not good at or reasons you're failing or what people will think, all of these normal things that go through our heads, especially as writers, because are you even a writer if you don't get in your own head sometimes? So our goal then as writers is to reduce or stop that self-referential thinking so that in the moment we can get into flow. And that flow state is where time melts away, where you sit down and out comes 2,000 words and it's great writing. It's that experience of the sublime when you're writing. Of course, we all want to experience that every single time we write. There are strategies I'll talk about sometime in the future in a future video on how to access that more frequently. But today, I simply want to help you overcome writer's block so that you can access that flow state maybe today or maybe next time you're writing. Writer's block usually comes because of lifestyle, which sounds not right when I say it, right? It's like, what would my lifestyle have to do with the fact that I can't write in this exact moment? And there are so many factors that can contribute to writer's block. Number one thing that I often diagnose writers with is lack of routine. So if you are not cultivating consistency in your everyday life around your writing, of course, your brain is not going to have all of those important signals that it needs by the time you sit down to write to go, hey, I'm writing now. I need to be present. I need to be focused. So routine is one of the number one things I ask writers about. What does your creative routine look like? And a lot of writers get stuck on this because they think that it has to be perfect or it has to involve 2 hours of focus time a day. That's not necessarily true. Even 15 minutes can be really powerful. So this is often one piece that we can look at in your life to determine if writer's block is a symptom of lack of routine. Another challenge I see all the time is hyper distraction. We are so connected to our devices, to the input of negative news from around the world, which makes sense. I recently wrote a blog post about writing a book when you're in a season of overwhelm. I'll be sure to link to that in the description of this video. And in that blog post, I talked about the fact that things are bad right now. There is a lot going on. Of course, your brain is going to be heavily distracted by all of the tragic world events going on around you, all the stress, especially if you're in the US right now, all the things that you're dealing with. So, of course, that's going to rob you of your focus and attention and can potentially lead to writer's block. So, what can you do about that? Well, you can turn off the news, you can delete social media apps off your phone, which I know is a big ask, but it can make a big difference. You can protect your brain time in the morning. So look at your morning routine, look at your news consumption routine, Look at your conversations throughout the day. Are you focusing a lot on things that are going on around you? Is it robbing your energy and attention? All of this can contribute to writer's block. Some other things that I look at in the authors' lives, the authors that I coach, is their nutrition and sleep and movement. So, again, what does this have to do with writer's block? Well, a nourished brain works better, right? I mean, this kind of is basic biology, but if you're giving your brain healthy food, feeding it what it needs to function well, you're not overloading it with sugar and processed food, that baby is going to work better. So, nourishing your body nourishes your brain, which is part of your body, a pretty important organ in your body. Sleep as well. I cannot overemphasize the importance of sleep. And it's kind of ironic because I'm recording this video after a terrible night's sleep. I was up for like 2 hours just laying in bed trying to go to sleep. Usually this doesn't happen for me. I usually sleep decent most nights. I aim for 8 hours a night. If I can get more, I love it. But research shows that this is not typical for a lot of us, especially women. We need more sleep. We need consistent sleep routines. And you may have heard people that talk about habits, researchers, scientists say that a great morning routine starts at night. And the habits you have around your bedtime, again, the phone, the quality of your sleep, all of that will impact your ability to be creative and productive the next day. And exercise is also another really important piece. Research shows you should be engaging in sweaty exercise. And if you're going on walks, that's amazing, and keep that up. And if you really want to get your brain functioning in tip-top shape, sweating at least a couple times a week, really doing some kind of exercise that breaks the sweat, it gets all that good stuff moving in your body. It enhances your brain activity. And again, when you sit down to write, you're just going to be a better, brighter version of yourself when you are well nourished, you've moved, you've slept, than when you're not taking care of your body. I know a lot of these are preventive. I will get to some in the moment strategies, but I want you to be thinking more holistically, because a lot of times we can get really down on ourselves in the moment thinking, God, what is wrong with me? Why can't I write? Oftentimes, it's a lot of the things around the writing, like nourishing yourself or not. Okay, and stress. Yeah, I know. Again, I'm talking about a lot of things that don't seem to have a ton to do with writing, but your stress level does impact your ability to focus when you're writing. And your ability to focus is everything when it comes to overcoming writer's block. When we're not focused, our brain is going 100 miles a minute. We are thinking about, we have that self-referential thinking going. We're thinking about all the things we need to do. So implementing strategies that can help your stress levels reduce, whether that's across your life, which I hope that you will integrate some of the lifestyle strategies we've talked about. All of those will support your stress levels. And also in the moment, you can do some things to help reduce your stress so that you can be more present and more focused while you're writing. One of my favorite strategies in the moment, if I come to writing and maybe I've had a really stressful morning, maybe the kids had a hard day, I struggled to get out of the door to drop them at school, or I had an early meeting and it just kind of disrupted my morning, I will do two things to help me get focused and reduce my stress levels in the moment. One is I will close my eyes for 30 to 60 seconds and I will just picture my reader. I will focus on that reader. I will concentrate on them and I will remember that this is not about me. The writing is not about me. Even if I'm telling about my life or sharing a story, it's not about me. As I'm creating this video, it's not about me. It's about you. It's about helping you. And doing this really helps me get out of my own head and focus on serving, focus on creating in a way that really uplifts other people and helps them. So that's one strategy. Another strategy I'll use is what's known as a physiological sigh. And so this works really well when you are really stressed and you need to get your stress level down quickly. To do a physiological sigh, you simply need to take a breath in and then a second shorter breath in. And I'll show you in a second what that looks like. The idea behind that is that when we cry, so if you think about the last time you cried really hard, and we start taking some of those heaving breaths in, you do this kind of big breath and then a sip of air after. This is how our body is naturally designed to calm itself down. So you can do this to calm your body down, almost to trick your body, but it actually does help to be calmer in the moment. I use this before speaking opportunities. If I'm in the moment and I feel a little stressed, I will subtly do one of these physiological sighs. So again, it's a deep breath in and then a little sip of air, and then you just let it out like this. So you just hold at the top for a minute. You can do a couple of those in the moment. It truly makes such a big difference. Maybe try it right now and see how it makes you feel. We talked a lot about lifestyle strategies. I just gave you some in the moment tips, but a couple of other things that I want to offer you. One is sitting and staring at your screen and pulling at your hair and, like, what is wrong with me is really not very helpful. You're better served to get up and go on a walk and come back. Go on an intentional walk. So don't listen to a podcast, don't listen to music. Just give your brain some space with the intention to return back to your writing if that's what you would like to do that day. And one of the things that I love about walking, there's a lot of things, the movement, all of that. But when you move both sides of your body, you engage both sides of your brain. This is a really nice strategy for just waking up your brain, for getting yourself focused again. So that bilateral movement is really important. Get out, go for a walk, go walk around the block, come back, and just give yourself that space to reset and come back. When you come back to write, don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. So if you come back and you're like, God, I've been at it for 45 minutes, I really need to get 1,000 words done, you're just going to go back to that self-referential thinking. So instead, set the bar for success lower and give yourself a goal that is incredibly achievable. You just say, I'm going to come back and I'm going to write at least another paragraph. You will be amazed when you let yourself have some freedom of what you produce, what you can actually produce. So just give yourself that space. A lot of times I tell my clients, all I want you to do in the early stages is get your fingers on the keyboard with that document open in front of you. That's it. That's goal number one. Goal number two is get a couple words down. Goal number three is now we hit a 50-word count. Then we go to 200 words and then 500 words and then 750, 1,000, however far their individual cap is for a writing session. So just remember that you don't have to set this expectation so high that it shuts you down. Another strategy that I sometimes recommend, but I do with a little caution, is to take an intentional pause. And I usually recommend this for people who are experiencing multiple days or even weeks of writer's block. They're really struggling. Maybe you're going through a personal situation that's really difficult. Maybe you've lost some energy. Maybe you've pushed yourself too hard. There's a little burnout setting in. In that case, it might make sense for you to take a short break. That could look like a week, 2 weeks, but give yourself a date to return to your draft. When you take that break, really take a break, do it with no guilt and step away, shut down your book, shut down the writing, and just give yourself some mental space and then put a time on your calendar to come back to it. Again, setting that bar for success really low. So, and I'm not trying to tell you to underachieve. Of course, I want you to achieve, but I want you to do it in a way that feels aligned and that can be joyful for you and isn't stressful. Now, I mentioned at the top of this video that if you are struggling with writer's block, you're not alone. And I really want to reinforce that because I see this all the time. I experience it. Of course I do. I've been writing all of my life. And of course I have hit writer's block. And these strategies that I'm sharing with you are strategies that I've used myself. They work. They're based on neuroscience. They're strategies I use with my clients. They work. And of course, there are more things that you can do. I could go into a lot more detail about your creative routine. There's a lot of things that we could talk about around affirmations, all the things that we could cover. But I really hope this video will help you right now where you're at. I offered you some immediate strategies. I gave you some longer term strategies to consider integrating into your lifestyle. If there's something that you heard today that you recognized as an area of growth that you're willing to take on, why not set a goal? why not right now say, okay, I can do this one small thing in my life and I'm willing to commit to it for, let's say, 21 to 35 days. I will show up, I'll do it, and I will measure and see how I feel. So maybe you commit to shutting your phone off early, 8 o'clock every night, 9 o'clock. Maybe you like the idea of deleting your social media apps. Maybe you commit to being at your desk at the same time 4 to 5 days a week. Maybe you commit to taking a walk when you're stuck. Whatever it is, I hope that this video has given you some tools that you can practically integrate into your life. If this video resonated with you, if you identified a habit that you can integrate into your life, please tell me about it in the comments so that I can celebrate with you. And be sure to like this video and subscribe so you can get more book writing, creative productivity tips from me, Stacey Ennis. I loved getting to spend time with you today, and I hope this is hugely, hugely helpful in helping you overcome writer's block.